folks, and welcome to the Kyber Culture, episode 94, with myself, Joe, and the last Johnson. Today we're chatting some news and doing a little throwback review on Star Wars The Last Jedi. To me, I think this is like the film that really broke the Star Wars fandom, so this is going to be a good chat. But stick around for our conversation. Make sure to follow us on YouTube and TikTok. If you're watching live on YouTube right now, thank you very much. But follow us on our other socials as well, like Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. Check the links in the description. But before we get started, Aaron, how you doing, my boy?
Doing all right, man. Nothing really too exciting, to be honest. Just pumping out WoW. There's a new season out, new patch. It's a patch that's just buying us time for the next expansion, Dragonflight, and I'll definitely talk about that. I think I'll talk about it once it actually releases and I get some play time in it. But yeah, man, just playing this patch as much as I can. Outside of that, just business as usual, man. Just working and living life, you know?
Yeah, can't complain. Like we said last pod, I feel like we've been, like, things are just business as usual for us for the past couple pods, and can't really complain on that stuff. On my end, just about to enjoy another day off, which is great. Watched a few new movies recently. I watched Bullet Train, watched Uncharted, the video game adaptation with Tom Holland, and Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday, I'm gonna do a pod with my brother on that, so stay tuned for that one. The past three movies that I just said, quick ratings, all three of them 2.5. Not exactly a fan of those three, but one that I really did like recently, it's streaming on Hulu, is called Prey. And Prey is it's like a prequel to like the Predator franchise. You know, the alien with the dreads and has all these crazy weapons. Like the original was from the 80s, starred Arnold.
It was a chopper, you know, that whole thing.
Exactly. Prey is it's good. It's exceptional. I wish it wasn't like streaming. Like I wish I saw it in movie theater. That's what I'm saying. And I wish they had put a little more money into the movie, because the visuals are kind of It's a great film regardless. And if you haven't watched it, definitely go to Hulu and watch it. And, you know, maybe you want to see the other ones that I really didn't like that much. But let's get into a little news here. So I just want to briefly bring this up. Joker 2. We briefly talked about the Joker sequel on the last pod. Some news broke today that it's going to have a $150 million budget. Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix, they'll be getting paid $20 million. Lady Gaga will be getting $10 million. And this is the thing that interested me the most, because this came out of a article from Variety. It pretty much said musical sequences will be closer to A Star Is Born rather than In the Heights. I just finished editing our last pod, and I literally said, I said exactly this. I don't know. I just got excited off that, and I'm looking forward to like a little like a musical with a more serious tone, and I think that's what they're going to try and go for here. Well, let's see. Up next, Warner Brothers is considering 3 options for the Flash movie, starring Ezra Miller, Michael Keaton, and Sasha Calle, I think, is Supergirl. There's a whole lot of things going on in that movie, but they're considering 3 options for the movie, because if you've been keeping up with like what the hell Ezra Miller has been up to, like, you know, being an absolute menace in Hawaii. I think his latest scandal happened earlier this week. He has like a warrant out for his arrest in Vermont or something like that. Anyways, the 3 options are, and these are all really funny. Like, I would be happy to see any one of these happen. I think this is a given. He's absolutely getting recast. Like, after this movie, Ezra Miller is no longer the Flash, so I think that's guaranteed. But like I said, the 3 options. First one, Ezra Miller gives an interview explaining their erratic behavior and does limited press. Second option is Ezra Miller plays no part in the film's promo and the role gets recast. I mean, that second part, the role gets recast, that's going to happen. He's getting recasted regardless. Or the third option is the film gets scrapped completely. Now, keep in mind, this is a $300 million movie. Whoever invested in this, like, if they don't get their money back, they're probably going to sue the fuck out of Warner Brothers. I mean, even if you do go with that third option, for one, you're in trouble with investors, and if you don't go with that option, you're in trouble with pretty much everyone else. So you're fucked either way. Aaron, I want to of these three options, which one are you picking?
Yeah, let's go with the third one. Piss everybody off, excluding Ezra Miller. just, I mean, I'm joking, but like, would he really be mad if they scrapped the whole thing? No, just recast. Just recast him. Like, I don't think this would have been like some huge missed opportunity for Ezra Miller. Like, don't even know what I've seen that Ezra Miller's been in. There's a part of me that just thinks that he's probably pretty easily replaceable.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Flash fans out there that want to see this movie. Even if you're not a Flash fan, there's probably just a lot of people out there that want to see this movie. Just replace him. I don't think anybody wants to see him on screen now, if you know all this shit that he's gotten into.
Oh yeah, no, he's absolutely getting recast. That's without a doubt. But if you do scrap this movie, I don't think because either way, Ezra Miller's out. But the investors I was talking about, if you completely decide to not release the movie, not Ezra Miller investing in the movie, but other investors are just going to sue the fuck out of Warner Brothers, and they'll the company as a whole be screwed.
Yeah, the whole first option just doesn't even seem like an option. Do people really want to see him apologize and say oh, my bad, this is what happened? And it just doesn't even seem like an option to me.
I actually would go with the first option, mostly because I would probably laugh at it. I would get a good laugh out of it, and I would want to see what he says. But you're probably right in the sense that he, for one, I don't think he'll answer these with honesty, and he probably will just dodge every question and will barely explain his behavior. He'll do the bare minimum to explain himself. And I don't think he'll be giving an apology at all. I mean, maybe. I'm just really curious to see what he says, because I think Warner Brothers will lean towards releasing the movie. So I think it's most likely that either the first option or the second option happens. But I hope it's the first option, because there's no way you can dig your way out of this. And
trying to see some memes.
Yeah, I'm trying to see the memeage, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But Ezra Miller, Jesus, man, what a guy. One more piece of news. We're actually going to talk about this guy a lot today. Oscar Isaac says he's down to return to Star Wars. I believe at first he was saying that he was kind of iffy on returning, but there was an article today with Deadline, and he said he's up for it if there's a great story and a great director. To add to that, a long time ago, Pedro Pascal stated that he would love to do a Star Wars project with Oscar Isaac. Mando would be old, but he says, I would survive to meet Poe Dameron. And I had to do a little bit of a quick maths today. Poe is a child during Mando. I think he's 7 or 8. I would love to see it happen. Old man Mando teaming up with a 20, 25-year-old Poe Dameron, even though I don't think Oscar Isaac can pull that off. But what about you? What do you think? Where do you think if there's a story that you want to see from Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron?
I'm kind of mixed about this, because I think there's only one real story that you can tell with this. The timeline would be a younger Poe Dameron, but in my head, the only thing I can think about is it would be something, even though we haven't seen it yet, it would be the same premise as Andor. It's literally going to be a regurgitation of what Andor seems like it's going to be. But if Andor just does something totally new, I am down for a Poe Dameron story. And I'm obviously always down to see Pedro Pascal, but I just don't think this warrants these three things. Oscar Isaac wanting to come back to Star Wars, Pedro Pascal saying he wants to meet Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron, also Oscar Isaac saying as long as there's a great story and a director. I just don't think this baits me in. There is no part of me that says, yes, I want that. I just don't think it would be unique enough. If it tells a story about, him as a young gun and how he came into the resistance, and, just kind of tells his upbringing, obviously I'll watch it, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn about all this, to be honest. But what about you?
Depends on the director and if this is a show or a movie. If it was a movie and they got a crazy director, then I would definitely be interested. And I would be interested to see correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they teased in Rise of Skywalker that at one point he was a spice runner before joining the Resistance, because they went to that one planet and they met up with that lady with the shiny gold helmet, and they used to run together or whatever. That's the only thing that I would be interested in. But like, if that time period did happen to take place between episode 6 and 7, which I'm assuming it does because he was already part of the Resistance by episode 7, if they could do something like that and somehow gets old man Mando involved, that could be interesting. And even if it does visit that time when he was a spice runner, that's just, revisiting the nitty gritty of Star Wars, which I think is been proven to be kind of successful with the most recent stuff. If it's a movie, I'm in. If it's a good director, I'm in. And if it goes back to the nitty grittiness of Star Wars, then I'm in. But so far from what we don't know any of those three things. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
I guess also another thing for me, because I definitely agree with you, but another thing for me is like, if we're gonna continue, or not even continue, if we're gonna explore a time period, barring everything that we know that's coming out in the Star Wars timeline or like in the Disney Plus timeline, we need to go back. We need to go back. We need to go Old Republic. Like, we need to go just explore characters that we've never even heard of. Just get away from this timeline. You know us. We're always gonna watch it, and we're always gonna review it.
And yeah, no, I definitely like that you said that. Because Star Wars is just classic. Like, oh, we released this, now we have to fill in the gaps for prequels. Like, if there's any franchise that loves to do the prequels, it's Star Wars. They always have to go back. I definitely agree with you. If there's anything that will shock general audiences and rope people back into the franchise, is if they go to a time period where it's not even possible to even mention or even have the idea that the Skywalkers are around. But that's it for news. Just a couple things, quick little news segment. So let's get into The Last Jedi. Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson. Everyone in the previous film, everyone in TFA is back to reprise their roles. Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Mark Hamill is here in a more prominent role. Carrie Fisher is here, Adam Driver, with new additions of Kelly Marie Tran. She is Rose. Benicio del Toro as the Codebreaker guy. And Laura Dern as the hyperspeed commander lady. Nominated for 4 Oscars, this movie. Pretty much these things, it makes sense. Like, nominated for visual effects. These two, I don't know if it won for it, but I definitely, upon rewatch, it was nominated for sound mixing and sound editing, and I thought this was a pretty cool nom to see, just because of when Rey and Kylo kind of talk back and forth with each other, their voices were interesting. It's kind of hard to explain, but sometimes their voices were louder or lower depending on who was speaking at the time, And of course, John Williams got nominated for score. But anyways, a little synopsis here. Jedi Master in hiding Luke Skywalker unwillingly attempts to guide young, hopeful Rey in the ways of the Force, while Leia, former princess turned general, attempts to lead what is left of the Resistance away from the ruthless, tyrannical grip of the First Order. I want to get just quick general thoughts from you about The Last Jedi real quick. So what did you think of the movie? Without not getting into it too deep, just quick general thoughts. Did you like it or
And we'll get into this probably around episode 100. I don't know, but definitely for me, this is probably the worst Star Wars movie for me.
Dang, bottom of the barrel. Worse than Solo?
Skywalker trilogy of the Skywalker saga.
Oh, okay.
I don't throw of the Skywalker saga. I don't.
Okay, of the 9, this is the worst for you.
I'm not including Rogue One. I'm not including of the
Solo.
9.
Okay.
I think this is the worst for me, just because there was so much wasted screen time. Probably 30% of the screen time could have been used so much more effectively. I just have to say that the first sequence of the movie with the dreadnought and dropping the bombs and dropping the payload and, having Poe go out there, like, disobeying orders and doing what he thought was right, even though it wasn't right in the vision that, or just what was best for the Resistance.
Right.
I think that whole sequence is amazing. Also think that it belongs later in the movie, and you just don't get anything after it, and then you go into like the second third of the movie, and it kind of loses you. Then you go into the third, the last third of the movie, and you're kind of just like ping-ponged around. For me, this movie is very conflicting as a Star Wars fan. Best way I could sum it up. That's like that. That's it.
Generally, that's how you feel.
That is just my summary. Like, it's so hard for me to come to a conclusion about what do I want done differently. What would I keep in this movie? What would I leave out? Because then when I start thinking about that, let's just rewrite the movie, man. let's make something else, But yeah, that is my general consensus of The Last Jedi. God, there's so many parts of this movie that I do love at the same time.
Yeah, no, okay. I think the best way to describe it is, like, generally is that it's absolutely a mixed bag. I feel like the bones of the story, I feel like they had decent things to play with here. If you take The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, it almost feels like neither of them really connect in any way. Like, it's almost like they're two completely different stories with no cohesive vision. The way the Force Awakens ends and the way the Last Jedi begins, it's almost like where are we going with this? And I think I'm speaking specifically to how Rey shows up to... I'm assuming this planet's called Octo. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but where she finds Luke. Well, I'll get into that in a bit. But, it's a mixed bag. That opening sequence, like you just said, just insanely goofy. I think one of the things that I will take away from it that I think it does better than any other Star Wars movie is that it's probably the most visually appealing one in terms of cinematography, and a lot of the scenes are shot, or at least with Octo, like that's a real location. Like you can go to Ireland and go to those islands and walk around the quote unquote first Jedi temple. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, no, the cinematography, a lot of really cool, interesting shots in this film. But yeah, that's the only thing that I really will say that I really liked about it. But I'm gonna go back just a little bit to just hype leading up to this movie. I think this is what kind of killed it for everyone. The hype was insane. Like after 2015 Force Awakens ends, you go online, there's all sorts of theories just talking about like Rey's heritage. Where has Luke been? Rey's heritage was a big one. And the first trailer drop was crazy just because like after watching TFA, there was so much promise. And then after the first trailer, again, there was so much promise. And watching this trailer and just hearing Luke say it's time for the Jedi to end I thought was pretty insane. It was a great time to just be on the internet, reading theories leading up to the movie, talking theories with everybody. The hype was so insane and had people in such a chokehold that everyone was even speculating like why the classic Star Wars logo, instead of it being yellow, it was red. And I was like, damn, we're really like roped into this, huh? But as far as the actual film is concerned, when I went on premiere night. Once it started, the energy in the theater just felt different. Like you could tell that like everyone was just kind of like not sure what was happening. But like I said, movie starts off, it's goofy. I really was like Poe Dameron in his little X-Wing, and I think his X-Wing is cool. I don't know if we talked about his X-Wing too much in the last spot about TFA, but he has a really cool X-Wing. It's like all black, and it's cool. Like it starts off just cracking jokes, and I'm like, okay, this does not feel like Star Wars. Like the like cheesy one-liners.
Hello, I'm looking for General Hugs. All right,
yes,
I'll hold.
Yes, this is General Hux. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
He's like, no? Okay, I'll hold. And I'm like, what? Like, what's happening here? Like, I don't even think original trilogy didn't crack any humor like that. And I don't even think prequels did any, like, crack any humor like that. And it was just like, I don't know. I just feel like this was a time for just Disney properties. I believe this is 2018. And Marvel movies are huge, right? MCU humor was already kind of, like, annoying me a little bit. when I critique the MCU for humor, I think it's now, like, especially after rewatch, it's less of an MCU thing and just more of like a Disney thing at this point. Like they just feel like all of our movies kind of have to be like all of our characters have to be goofy, our characters have to fuck up, and they just have to be kind of silly in a way. And I was like, okay, well, now The Last Jedi just feels like I'm watching a modern day MCU film, which really threw me off about it. But yeah, the movie, just stuff I wasn't expecting at all. And like I kind of rubbed off the opening sequence. Like you said, I thought it was cool. Like the bombs were cool. A lot of sacrifice happening in the beginning already, like right off the bat. But once Luke threw the lightsaber off the cliff and just cracked that joke, I was like, oh man, like what is going on here? You know?
Like and I'm fine with the concept of what that is. Luke has this premonition of what Rey wants to do, and he just totally fucks it off. That's fine, but do it different visually, do it different with dialogue. Like,
dialogue would have been way more interesting.
Yeah.
Like serious dialogue, you know, which we do get a little bit of later in the movie. But like one of the lines from the trailer that I remember is Luke says, "This is not going to go the way you think." And I'm like, maybe when I was halfway through the movie, I was like, yeah, this really isn't going the way that I thought it would.
Oh, is he talking to us?
Yeah. Was it kind of meta in that way? Like,
is that fourth wall right there?
Oh man, it was hilarious. Everything about Luke on Octo was a little odd. Especially when we get shots of Luke drinking the green milk straight, like fresh from the Octo giant animal teat. Dude, that shit was crazy. Like, even Rey like reacts like, oh, that's kind of gross, but he's loving it. Kind of like my next point. It was interesting to see Snoke. That I think that like more so than people wanting to know about Rey's heritage. Another thing that people really wanted to know about was Snoke, and it was cool to see him in full form. He's ugly as fuck, but somehow is like extremely strong in the Force. Like when we first see him and Kylo Ren, he like can shoot Force lightning out the floor. I'm like, holy fuck, this guy is crazy. But more on Snoke in a little while. Porgs are a cute distraction. Ultimately, don't really care for them. I like that we got a little scene of this was actually kind of funny. Chewie cooking porgs and just like porgs watching him cook and eat porgs. I thought that was kind of cool. This is something we mentioned in the last pod, but I want to talk about this the Force connection with you. And this was Snoke actually like we find out in the movie that Snoke is the one that creates the dyad. He's the one that bridges their minds through the Force. Because I know you know more about what the dyad is through the Force through Rebels. What do you think about how they handled that in this movie? Because first off, for me, I didn't even assume to think about that. I don't even think they said like explicitly said the word dyad in this. I think it's just up to the. Honestly, I don't even know if Rian Johnson like or any of them were thinking about the word
totally
dyad.
Unaware. Yeah, they had no idea.
Yeah, so I don't like what do you think about how they showed this?
Honestly, I think the introduction of it and kind of the proceedings of the dyad between Kylo and Leia, it was good. It actually was really good, but the problem with it is that I think it should have been introduced in The Force Awakens, and the whole trilogy should have been just more centered around that as kind of like the connecting thread. I don't even want to bring Rise of Skywalker into it, but like from The Force Awakens till now, I think that would have been so much more substantial, right? Because like in The Force Awakens, we're all questioning like who's Rey, like, you know, who are her parents, as she also is. She's also internally questioning, having this existential crisis, like, who am I? We know who Kylo Ren is. We know his heritage, but we don't know his prerogatives. We don't really know his MO. We don't know his ulterior motives, right? I think that they just should have focused on that. But in The Last Jedi, I think they handled it pretty well. Like, the whole dyad thing is like, you're so you're so connected with another force sensitive being that it's kind of like Luke and Leia. Like they almost, well, they did show that between Luke and Leia.
Oh yeah, they absolutely did. Like in Empire.
And in The Last Jedi, when Leia was like on respirators and shit after she did the whole shenanigans of flying back from space.
I think that was just like when it was in Empire and in this, I think it was just more like, because they're like brother and sister.
Just the Force.
It was just they're just connected to the Force. It wasn't some like abnormal thing that
rare,
like how Rey and Kylo is. Like the connection between Luke and Leia just seemed like it was natural. You know, especially since they're twins.
Whereas this one's like unnatural. Like there's no bloodline. Spoilers. There's no bloodline between them. Like they just seem like very Force powerful people, and there's just this strange connection between them. Like there's the mystery behind it. Like why are they connected? And they don't know. They don't know why they're connected. Like that's the whole dialogue between them. When they do have those shots where. Why is this happening to us? I can see you. Can you see me? Can you see me? Oh, that's him in the helmet. But no, I think they handled it fine. Honestly, I just think that it was written off or wasn't written on enough. Yeah, it just wasn't explored enough. But I love the idea of it. I think it's awesome because we'll talk about the scene later. But after Snoke dies and it's just Kylo and Rey. Kylo has this idea of what they can do together and how they can affect the galaxy and how they can control the future. Kylo understands the dyad relationship between them more than Rey does.
That makes sense. And if you were to define exactly what a dyad is, that we haven't said quite yet, how'd you put it?
From what I've briefly read, like on Wikipedia, because this is the only time that this has ever been mentioned in any Star Wars content.
I thought
that I've consumed.
Not even in Rebels? I thought they mentioned this in Rebels. I thought there was like a scene where like the Bendu explains what a dyad is or something.
Oh, you're right. It's with the holocrons and shit. Damn, I got to go back and rewatch, man.
Okay.
I think I think you're right. He does mention it, but I think even in Rebels and the way that that's mentioned is slightly kind of different. Vague. Yeah, but as far as I know, what it is, it's just a very rare relationship between two very Force-sensitive human beings where they can, exactly what you see in The Last Jedi. Like, they can communicate across galaxies. Their connection is so strong. They can feel each other, talk to each other, and see each other from like whatever distance, right? Then what I see in The Last Jedi, after saying that, is when they're together, they're extremely powerful. Probably pretty obvious, but my mind is kind of just stuck on that whole fight scene. But yeah, that's like the most general description I can give of a dyad.
You know what I wish they kind of did? Like when they were in those moments when they were communicating with each other before the fight, is I wish they just put them in like an empty room. You know, like the way they portrayed this is that like they're both in their respective areas. Like the first scene I'm thinking about is Kylo is on his ship and Rey is somewhere on Octo. Like I wish they just put them in like an all black, because they can't see each other's surroundings. You know, they specifically mentioned that, is that they can only see each other. And I wish they were just like in a completely black room, just that we could like, I don't know, feel like we're actually there.
Yeah, right. And Rey can obviously see Kylo because she asked Kylo to put a fucking shirt on.
Like they can physically see each other.
Kylo to put a shirt on, man. Like look at those pecs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, this guy is, oh man, dude, Adam Driver. I don't know if he was like in this, like how he looks now. This man is absolutely shredded. But like back in the day, I don't know if he was that shredded. That dude's in great shape.
Adam driving to the gym 24/7. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So next point, Luke's first lesson. I'm mixed on this as well, mostly because like the lesson starts off goofy. Like I said, this movie is goofy. A lot of it is real goofy. Rey's saying like Luke asks like, oh, like what do you think the Force is? And she's like, oh, it's like this thing that makes like you can control people with it and you can make things float. And I'm like, oh, come on, dude. You know. And then like when she's sitting on the rock and Luke asks her to like reach out, and then she like physically like reaches out with her hand. I'm like, another joke. Come on, let's get it going here. And then yeah, no, I just thought that was kind of silly. I do want to ask you about this because the movie is critiqued pretty hard about this aspect of it. How did you feel about Luke in this movie disconnecting to the Force, or disconnecting from the Force? For me, I'm a fan of it. I think it's a little sudden, but I do like it as a fan because I feel like people going into this movie wanted to see like Prime Luke from Return of the Jedi, and the reasoning of cutting himself off the Force almost feels sudden just because like we didn't get all the stuff as to why he felt he had to do that. I mean, we get bits and pieces of it throughout this movie, but I was a fan. I thought like, it just added like, especially like knowing how the movie ends. It's like, okay, well, I'm disconnected from the Force, but I have to like do this final thing to, re-spark the rebellion or whatever. How did you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm a fan as well. Like you said, we definitely get bits and pieces as to why, but I do feel like I think it would have been cool if we saw a little bit more Prime Luke, a little bit at least in the beginning of the movie, and then like this big scene of like, or like at least some sequence of him being like, okay, like I'm gonna come back like and use the Force for some big moment, but then it fails, and then he's like, no, I'm done, I'm cutting myself off because, and then it starts to explain why, and then shows all the previous reasons, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like the whole thing with Kylo,
which they show a lot,
which they do, but like after,
yeah,
but it's after the point,
right?
And that adds to the whole like feeling of being conflicted in this movie. Like you start getting attached to like one idea in the movie, and then it just moves on and on and on. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
Good on it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to not fixate on like what would happen if he didn't cut himself off from the Force. Would just kind of like change the whole movie. But yeah, I'm a fan for sure.
And the second lesson is, I think it's the second lesson where he talks to Rey about how like it was the Jedi's. It's like he mostly blames the Jedi for like the Empire's rise to power, right? And
the hypocrisy, the blindness,
and it's stuff like like if you watch the prequels, obviously
he's so right
like,
though.
He's exactly right. Exactly. It is their fault. Like they read the prophecy wrong about Vader, and that's why Vader turns out to who he became to be. And then, with Vader, after he goes, remnants of the Empire, rises to the First Order. So he's right. But I think there are more specifics about the failings of the Jedi, like in Clone Wars and stuff like that. So are there any like specifics that you could allude to, or anything more that you want to add about the failings of the Jedi?
There's a lot of failings, more so I think just with writing, because the Jedi Council was not into prophecies at all in the High Republic. Qui-Gon was very into the prophecies. There were a few other Jedi, but like most of the Jedi Council, they were not into prophecies. And how we went into the prequel trilogy for them, like just being like, oh, there's a prophesized one and all that.
This is the guy. This is the guy. We have to go find him. This is the dude.
Which they never operated under those morals or prophecies. They always adhered to like, laws and being tied to galactic law. You could also blame it on Anakin. It's definitely Anakin's fault. Already blamed it on him. We won't go into that, but there's just a lot that doesn't add up going into the whole prophecy thing leading up to The Last Jedi.
Well, moving on here, random thing in this movie, but the casino planet thing, I was like,
oh god,
what are we doing? What are we doing?
That was
here?
a whole 30 minutes that I was talking about that you could just
gosh, it was so random. And like on first watch premiere night, I was like, damn, this scene is dragging on and I want it to end. Just felt pointless on why they were even there. even though like they had to find someone to help him do something, which what to break codes or something like that. What did this guy want to do? But either way, that guy ended up betraying him. Like, and it was a waste of casting Benicio del Toro in this role. I thought like Benicio del Toro is like top of the top in Hollywood, and they gave him this weird role and gave him like a weird stutter. I didn't really get what he was going for here. But that's not to say that like, see, with this movie for me, I think there are a lot of, like I mentioned earlier, there are like things about it, like the bones are good. The goofiness outweighs the good bony parts. like Benicio del Toro here, they robbed like an arms dealer's ship. Pretty much he showed Finn this concept of like, hey, like, you know, we're at war here, but like we're in an arms dealer ship who's selling weapons to like both sides of the cause, you know? So I thought it was interesting, but they didn't really go in on it anymore. What do you think about the Casino Planet?
Oh, it was trash. I mean, it was terrible. The only there's two redeeming parts of it. One, it's just the fact that it's Benicio del Toro, even though he's had equally as useless roles that were more impactful in like in the MCU. He was the
Collector. He was just there.
That was so much better, and not only, and more so, that I just feel like you could have used all of this material, everything, the way that it was filmed, but like reorganized the way that it was like written out. So like the first scene, like the first sequences of the movie, besides Luke, like the whole Dreadnought thing, could have been put at the end, and then this whole Casino Planet thing could have been put at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
and you could have done
that
this
would have been
whole,
that would have been an interesting opener, actually.
You know what I mean? Like it's this whole like James Bond 007, like kind of like we gotta find this guy, and like we're gonna sneak in and, you know, be all elusive and detective and stealthy, but you don't know why they're doing it. But then it explains it like midway through it.
Yeah,
just get it out of the way. I'm like reorganizing the whole movie like in my mind, and I'm like, fuck, man. No, but it's a fun planet to be in for sure. It's kind of like Rose's mentality, like, you know, this planet's beautiful, but you don't see what's underneath. They're all arms dealers. And the other redeeming quality is like at the end of the movie, you get, you know, one of like the stable keepers, like the boys, slaves. I don't know if they're probably slaves, but there's a token of light, you know, like just shedding or like spreading light across the galaxy. But that's not redeeming until the end of the movie, and you're like, okay. By the time the movie ends, you're like, okay, I guess that scene's 2% better now that I've seen that.
For this scene to be in the movie, which I think it's a general consensus that nobody really liked that, and then to go back to it to end the film before the credits roll is kind of bonkers to me. But
I'm fine with criminals, gamblers. Like I love that underside. We all love that underside, like the underground part of Star Wars. But just to throw it in this movie where everybody, like you were already talking about earlier, was so hyped to see the sequel to TFA, it's just so wasteful, man. It's so disappointing. Like The Last Jedi it's literally the movie that I go back and watch the least. I'm sorry. Continue.
But yeah, before we move on from the casino scene, I actually do want to briefly chat about Rose, Kelly Marie Tran's character. And I'll say it right off the bat. I wasn't a fan. I think she did a lot of weird things in this movie. And I feel like when they wrote her character in, they were really banking on her character, because I don't know if you noticed this, Aaron, but they gave her own theme music. Like, I feel like they really thought that like this had her character done better amongst audiences, like she would have her own Star Wars show right now. Every time she's on screen, it's the same music. I'm like, no way, they gave her own theme music. But that's not to say though, like I just think she's a weird character, poorly written. But like the things that happen to like Kelly Marie Tran in real life are disgusting, to say the least. I'll say this: it was mostly racist stuff, but people bullied her off people bullied her off the internet, and John Boyega got the same shit. It's really tough.
So fucked.
Kelly Marie Tran, she literally quit social media because the flack from The Last Jedi was so bad. And I'm like, dude, like, you could dislike the character. Like, I'm not that big a fan of the character.
It's not her fault.
But yeah, like, it's not her fault at all. Like, and yeah, it was ugly business. But yeah, so fuck you guys for scaring away Kelly Marie Tran.
That's so sad, man.
And you know, it's kind of bummer too. Like, we'll talk about the Rise of Skywalker, but her role, it's almost like she wasn't even in Rise of Skywalker, you know? And that's what Lucasfilm decided to do, just because like so many of these folks are out here doing all this crap. But it's a bummer, dude.
That's so messed up, man. I'm pissed at the movie too, but I'm not
gonna go out and like on the internet and like DM fucking the actors, you know, like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, and I'm not like a movie buff or anything, like a critic or like an aspiring critic. I feel like most people who enjoy watching movies understand that there's a very big difference between a poor acting performance and a poorly written script or a poorly directed movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's a clear line, and like to bring race into it is just that, like, the gutter of Star Wars fandom, man. That's fucked. It's like reminiscent of Moses. That's so fucked, man. Enough of the dark side. Here, quote.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the light side of the dark side.
No, but the dark side of Star Wars is kind of cool. Like, this is just like, like fuck you guys, like, you know.
The dark side has equality within it. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now.
Yeah, but okay. So, speaking of the dark side, Rey going to the dark side of the island was like, I found it to be a little confusing, but I was interested to say the least. Like I was mentioning earlier, her parents or lineage or family connections was probably one of the things that fans wanted to know. Like, when she went into this cave, I didn't think this was going to be the moment for the reveal. Like, when she said like show me my parents, and she put her hand towards that reflection thing. I could feel everybody in the theater just like looking, and like they see these reflections. Yeah, just like these two shadows just walking towards it, and
they combined,
and then it morphs into one, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then it walks towards her, and then it's just a reflection of her, and then I could hear like audible like what or huh, like all throughout the theater. I was like, yikes. And like I'm one of those people too. I was like, oh man, they are really going with like a different direction here. Like, and at this point too, I could feel that, like, okay, like J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson must have not have like collaborated on this at all, just because like I feel like J.J. Abrams wanted to like set up something big with like lineage, you know, and then Rian Johnson's just like, nah, we're not doing that. I was like, damn, that sucks, dude.
And it's even more fucked too, because I'm trying my best not to go too far ahead or too far behind, but Palpatine had like 5 siblings. There is a lot of lineage there that just wasn't there. I mean, even though that wasn't like a part of any of the Star Wars movies, but they do throw Palpatine in, and you know, she's a Palpatine and all, and it's just, you are expecting this, like, it's a big like hold your breath moment, and you're like, oh, there's 2 people coming, like, who are they going to be? Every Star Wars fan has like this their own idea of like who they're going to be, and you're just kind of like disappointed. Yeah. But I feel like when she sees that it's her, they should have expanded on that a little bit more, like, if not the next scene, but a few scenes after that. Mm-hmm. But they just kind of drop it. It's supposed to be this like mysterious like symbolism that you're supposed to decipher for yourself, and then you go into The Rise of Skywalker and like, what the fuck what did we just see? Like, we're like, yeah. It's just a big.
The only thing that I will say, thinking forward to Rise of Skywalker, it doesn't really work anymore. But I thought that they, what they were trying to do here was they were trying to commit to the idea that Rey was no one, like, quote unquote, no one.
Yeah, and, for sure.
Watching Rise of Skywalker, or no, not Rise, Last Jedi, It could have worked. It set up just a little more like I don't know. It's
Yeah, but they didn't like emphasize that point enough. That's what I'm saying. Like you see that and you're like, oh man, she really is nobody. She's just this random force sensitive human being who might have a relationship to the Skywalkers because she went into Maz Kanata's canteen and like the lightsaber was there, but it just drops off. Like you could have just done like just some illusion, not illusion, like allude to something after that. Right. That's all I'm saying.
Bummer about that.
Huge bummer.
Moving on to some things that I thought were like a couple of highlights from the movie. Encapsulates the movie as a whole. Like it almost brings the movie together at some point. I thought Yoda's scene was pretty solid. I love that they brought in the classic puppet from the OG trilogy. I don't know if I would have been mad if they did the CGI version from the prequels either, but I definitely like the CGI puppet. That was great. Or no, not the CGI puppet, the classic puppet. But I love that he, like, pretty much the whole conversation here, the lesson that he teaches Luke is about how failure is the greatest teacher. And the reason why I say it kind of ropes the whole movie in together is because ultimately the main occurring theme throughout the entire film is that everyone fails at what they're doing. You know, everyone fucks up in some respect. People are either like failing at like rescuing somebody or like everyone just blows it somehow. But yeah, what did you like? Me personally, I loved it, but what did you think about Yoda's return?
I loved it as well. The aesthetic part of it, I wouldn't have minded if it was, the puppet or like the CGI. But it's very reminiscent of, the scene in the Dagobah Swamp with Yoda and young Luke. And I don't remember the quote off the top of my head, but like he's basically saying like, your mind is always on the future. What he was doing.
Where he was going.
Not what he was doing. And it's the same thing, and it's something that the wisest Jedi ever has been preaching like forever. I don't know if he preached it too much in like the prequel trilogy, but it's just it's a lesson that even as like human beings, like in real life, we fail to adhere to. We get so upset with failing and we just harness negative energy off of it, and sometimes we turn to the dark side. But anyways,
but failing in real life is, if you don't learn from your failures, then it's on you.
But I think it would have been a huge disservice if Yoda did not pop back up at some point in this whole trilogy, and I think it was well placed. I think bringing him up here was really, because it's kind of a turning point for Luke. I mean, it is the turning point for Luke in The Last Jedi. But yeah, like the sacred Jedi text.
Oh, read them, have you?
See, like that's good humor. Like that's well placed humor, I think, because it's Luke's very, very serious, and we're kind of in this moment in the movie, if you're watching it for the first time, where you're like, oh my god, like what's coming next? Like where are we going? And we kind of like reach this midway point in the movie. It's just relieving. I think this whole sequence is relieving.
It's like taking a breath of fresh air,
because you get Luke. Like, not even just for the characters and the interactions, just kind of like the whole progression and like where the story is, for sure. I love it. Because Yoda's kind of just, he's dicking on Luke. You know what I mean? Like he always has.
But another scene that I really liked from it, of course, it's the throne room fight. This is top. This is chef's kiss. This is some of the best shit that is in Star Wars ever. And
I got a question after
this. It's just great, just because like Snoke kind of plays himself here. Like Snoke thinks he knows everything, and like he says like I can now sense resolve in my apprentice. Like he's about to ignite the lightsaber and like kill his enemy. Even though he might have been reading that in Kylo's mind, Kylo was like thinking that about Snoke, and Snoke thought he was thinking about Rey, and I'm like, okay, Snoke, you fucking suck, dude. Like maybe it is good that he died in this moment. You know? No, I mean I wish they expanded. Well, knowing what I know about Rise of Skywalker, I don't think I would really want to know any more about Snoke at this point. Just awesome fights. I don't have much else to say, just because other than that, it looked awesome. It was great, and the music was epic too. What was your question?
Two things. First, we never really talked about Snoke that much.
There's honestly not much to say about the guy. I mean, portrayed by Andy Serkis, the motion capture
That's
king.
insane. That's insane. Yeah, it's Andy Serkis, man.
Yeah, much love to Andy Serkis. Snoke, I mean, I think he's the least villainous villain of Star Wars. I think there's much to say about, like, less about the actual character of Snoke, but how he comes to be. I think there's more to say about that. We'll talk about. Stay tuned, folks. But we'll talk about Snoke and Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out. We haven't really talked about Snoke that much, but I'm thinking of 3 fight scenes in all of the trilogies.
Okay.
That are like top 3 for me.
Okay.
Number 1, obviously, Mustafar.
Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
And Anakin Obi-Wan.
Yeah. 2,
Qui-Gon. And this isn't in any particular order. It's just the 3 that I'm thinking of. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan as a Padawan versus Maul.
Okay.
And this scene.
Okay.
I think those are the 3 best scenes, like fight scenes in
memorable fight scenes from Star Wars. Yeah.
And that's including Rise of Skywalker. I just have to say I have to throw that out there, because I think like what's happening in terms of story here makes this fight scene so good, and Snoke's guards are fucking badass. Like the weapons that they have, they're so fucking cool, man. Like
the sword that somehow is also a chain, but it's also like connected through like red electric shit.
And then you can break it apart to turn it into like 2 blades. Like,
yeah,
that shit's so cool. And also it's the big dyad in the Force here. Like the way that they communicate without communicating, like, and they fight the way that Kylo and Rey fight together is just, it's so fucking cool. And it didn't last too long, because I feel like you could have made the fight last longer, but I think if the length of it was effective enough. And also, you do get a big regurgitation from Return of the Jedi in this scene.
Yeah, you absolutely do.
Like it's just conceptually the exact same thing. It's just visually different. But that's not to say that a lot of what's happened up to this point isn't a regurgitation. But I love this scene. Like the whole red curtains, so to speak.
Yeah, what was the deal with that? I mean, like the red
maybe
curtains,
it's a way to harness more dark side energy.
Yeah, like why? Like this is strictly for aesthetics at this point, because like, what's the purpose of like just shielding off like seeing the rest of the galaxy? Like me personally, I'm not putting up these red capes. I want to see the stars and shit where I'm flying. Like,
but it does make it look like it makes it look like a good throne room, though.
Yeah,
it makes it look
does.
Like a pretty good throne room.
It does make it look pretty cool. I just thought it was hilarious that like the reason why it burns down is because Rey throws like one of those like crazy weapons that his throne guards have into like one corner of the room, and then it burns the rest of it down. Like, holy shit, dude. Extremely flammable curtains. Like, I wouldn't recommend for your home.
Dude, Snoke got the wrong interior designer, man. That's all I'm saying. No, it's an amazing fight scene. I love it. Last thing I'll say on it, just like the slow motion that happens when shit's about to like breaking out, like that quick slow mo scene, and then it just like speeds up to normal time at the perfect time. It's amazing. I love it. And
Rey and Kylo are just back to back, just like lightsabers in hand, just looking around, like seeing who they're gonna take on first. It's a great scene. And like I mentioned earlier, just one of the things that I loved the most about this movie is the visuals and the cinematography and the shots. And this is Rey and Kylo standing back to back. Iconic.
Fucking dope. And I do think that this fight scene actually, because I always undermine Kylo Ren as like a villain and as like a force wielder in general. But watching this again, I'm like, okay.
As a combatant, we talked about this in the last pod. He is
he's so fucking good. He's
not to be
so
fucked with.
But anyways.
Still can't take on Anakin though. No one can take on Anakin. No fucking way.
No fucking shot.
What was the question they had to ask?
Which one's the best?
Oh, which one's the best of the three?
Which one's the best? Yeah.
Oh, the choice is obvious for me, but I mean, it's hard to just not say Anakin versus Obi-Wan. Yeah. This is the best. The emotional weight is there between the two. It's quite literally like a duel of the fates. Anakin versus Obi-Wan. I mean, fight choreography, swordplay is the best. It's
I guess a better question.
Well rehearsed.
Bar none, the choice. But I guess a better question is, does this fight belong in that category of the best?
The Last Jedi?
Scenes? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think there's anything from the original trilogy that I would put up there. Mostly because, like...
Visuals.
Like visuals, the best fight scenes and best fight choreo is honestly the best is all in the prequel trilogy. Like, if there's anything from the prequel trilogy that tops the other trilogies, it's all the action scenes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Original trilogy, like, story's very good, but the fight's kind of boring. And that's not because I'm not even saying that because of visual effects. Like, I understand it's older, but just, like, the way the sword play is, like, choreographed and stuff like that, it's just kind of boring, you know? Like, it's just like they're swinging bats at each other. And that's all.
A couple old folks just swinging bats at each other.
Yeah. And sequel trilogy, like, it's honestly just more of the same. Like, prequel trilogy, they're doing, like, fancy, like, flourishes, you know, like, doing
making
crazy
it look
moves.
way fancier than it is.
Yeah, just making it look way over the top.
I forgot. Dooku versus fucking Yoda.
Exactly. Dooku versus that is over the top, over choreographed stuff. And like, shouts to Christopher Lee, because I feel like unless someone was doing like the Yoda motion capture, I feel like Christopher Lee as Dooku had to just swing at nothing, pretending he was swinging at something, you know? You know what I mean? Like, just filming the scene, he's just like, oh fuck, like, oh my god, Yoda's over here now. Like, what are you supposed to do?
And then it also just makes me think of like when like the lights go out, and it's just like Anakin and Dooku looking like they're just standing still and just like,
oh yeah,
just
staring at each other, like not even hitting each other, just
good action, guys. Yeah, that's good action. I love it. Anyways, I just big tangent, but yeah. Okay. Because I thought I was tripping. I was like, okay, when I was rewatching it, I mean, I already thought that when I first saw Last Jedi, I was like, this is actually one of the craziest fucking scenes in terms of like lightsaber battles. But I was rewatching it again. I was like, is this actually one of the best? And then I had to kind of like recycle through everything, and I was like, okay, I think this is. So I just want to know your opinion. But anyways.
Oh yeah. But yeah, let's move on a bit here. Like, still talking on battles. Battle on Crate was okay. I thought, like, knowing how they treat Finn in Rise of Skywalker, I wish they'd just let him sacrifice himself in this to add a little more emotional weight to the movie. Like, give him this big moment to help save the Resistance, you know? That would have been awesome. But fucking Rose had to come in with her bullshit, and that kiss was so weird, dude. I can't lie to you. Like, Finn didn't even want that kiss, dude. Like she kissed him, and then he just kind of was like, whoa. Like, if there was any like romance that they tried toying with here, I thought it was Rey. I thought it was Rey and Finn.
It's Rey.
But then in this movie, it's like, oh no, it's Rey and Kylo, and now it's like Finn and Rose. But it's like, by the end of this movie, like, the way that like Finn and Rey kind of like locked eyes with each other when she was moving all the rocks, like using the Force to move rocks, you know, because that's what you do with the Force. Also, another really cool shot, by the way, is
that one's amazing.
Really great shot, just of Rey like in the middle of the shot, and then there's all these giant rocks floating around her. Just really cool looking Star Wars stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, I wish Finn sacrificed himself. They played my boy. It's a damn shame. What did you think about the battle on Crate?
I got one thing to say. It created one of my most favorite memes of all time.
More. More. Okay, hold on. I'll get there. But just to comment on memes real quick, especially on Star Wars memes, or just memes in general, because if you look at memes like this, like things will stand the test of time because of memes. Like memes keep things like relevant in any kind of medium of pop culture.
Memetics. That's the word that it comes from. It's something that transcends time. That's a terrible definition, but yes, you're right.
I think the prequels get tons more memes than any other Star Wars medium. You get some from the OG trilogy, but the sequel trilogy only has the Kylo meme. The OG trilogy doesn't have much, now that I think about it. But yeah, no, the prequels have standed the test of time. I would have to hand a good part of it because of meme culture. And Adam Driver just stands the test of time just because of the more and more thing.
Dude, Karen Driver is the best. It's him, and there's all the like love decor, like all like
and all the pillows. All the pillows, and it's like more, and then they keep adding pillows to the bed, and
and he has like blonde hair on him on the second one. It's so good. It's so good.
But let's talk about the Battle of the Crate and the final face-off. We get Luke here, looking very cool. I think this is a top tier Luke scene. Honestly, I'm like 70% in on it, and then 30% like I wish it was a little different. Luke's final face-off is very clever. And again, I'm going to go back to splurging on the visuals and cinematography, but him just walking out and like shots of him just standing solo up against all these Imperial walkers. Very cool shot. Like he really had to understand what was not understand, but you had to pay attention to what was happening here in this scene, because he shows up, you're already thrown off because like he shows up, he has really short dark hair, and it's like, wow, this man like took the time to get a haircut before showing up to the final battle. Says hi to Leia, whatever. Then he goes outside, and then he ignites his lightsaber, and you realize, okay, well, wait a minute, he has his old lightsaber. What's going on? And then I really love that Rian Johnson really wanted you to make sure about the feet placement and what was going on with their feet, just because, like, zoomed in on Kylo's feet, and he's, like, moving his feet around, and whenever he moves around, like, you could see, like, it was salt, right? That's what they were saying was on the floor. It was salt. And
it's some form of saline substance, yes.
Yeah, and then he moves his foot, and you can see the red underneath it, and then you like we get a shot back at Luke, and he's like moving around, but salt doesn't move, you know. And I just thought that was like I don't think it's like super smart, but I just think it's like really clever to like let the audience know, like, hey, like what you're looking at isn't exactly what you see, you know, if that makes sense. But he was like really letting you in on it. You know what I mean?
He's focusing pretty hard on it, and a little over the top, maybe.
But yeah, no. So I thought this fight scene was really clever, and like I thought of this randomly, but you know how when Kylo kind of catches on, like after he like swipes through Luke, and he didn't fall down or get cut in half, and the first thing he does is like, he like pokes his lightsaber through Luke, and it just goes straight through him. The thing that I thought about was, remember those toy lightsabers back in the day, the ones that are like retractable? It's like the retractable plastic. It's like when you're poking someone with one of those, and it just retracts back into the thing, and you're pretending like you just stabbed someone.
Those are, I love those. But yeah, that's
what I thought about when he like poked it in, and he was like going through the Force hologram thing or whatever. That was pretty great. But what did you think about Luke's final face-off?
I think it's great, and I think it piggies back to what we were talking about, and like his whole like purpose in this, and like his big grand moment. We wanted Prime Luke earlier. We just got it here because coming from one of the most powerful Jedi in the universe during this time, or in the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that takes a lot of Force energy to do from planets away. Like that's pretty fucking badass. And it also gives you a lot of solace within like Luke's character, and like how you view Luke, what you wanted, how you wanted Luke's character to progress, and how you wanted him to end. I think it was really well done. Especially with the whole scene with like the sunset at the end, where he just He's on the ledge on, what's the planet called again?
I'm pretty sure it's Octo.
Octo.
Yeah, Octo.
Like, that's pretty beautiful. Like the whole like synergy between like him seeing the sunset or sunrise and kind of just like fulfilling his destiny, letting the resistance have enough time, creating enough time for the resistance to escape. Meanwhile, Rey is just fucking force roxing the shit out of the mine. Like, it's great. Like, I think the end of this movie is really good, but how we get there is just like a whole nother question, you know? Like,
yeah, how he gets to the third act is a little rocky.
I think the whole sequence on Crate is great. But yeah, there's definitely cheesy moments in it, but I don't think I would have changed anything about the ending of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just to speak on his final moments, it gets me every time. His stare off into the sunset is
emotional, man.
Yeah, emotional. I honestly, I well up every time I see it, just because like when I think about, again, talking about shots in Star Wars, but not just the cinematography in this, but one of my favorite shots just in Star Wars in general, and I think this is like a favorite amongst everybody, is Luke staring off into the sunset, staring at the twin suns in A New Hope. And getting that parallel in this was perfect. Him staring off is great, and getting the Force theme one more time before he disappears was awesome. Honestly, probably one of my favorite moments in the sequel trilogy, just getting that one final payoff.
It's just, you watch this very brief scene and kind of in your head, you get this like very quick rewind going, like everything that's happened with the Skywalkers, with Luke, and then it all stops in your mind and you're just watching Luke disappear and you're just like crying in joy. Yeah, you know,
like this was it.
This
was
peaceful.
This was like the final thing that he could give to like the galaxy, you know. This was like his final. It's perfect. So yeah, and then movie kind of goes on. They save the day. They win. The remnants of the rebellion is now all on the Millennium Falcon. Rey has both pieces of the lightsaber, and then we go back to the casino planet. And the movie ends right here with the kid holding up the broom, and I think they're alluding to that they haven't revisited this. I'm assuming I think Rian Johnson is still getting his own Star Wars trilogy, so it might go off of this. But I also had a theory that there's also that Disney Plus Star Wars show, The Skeleton Key, that is supposed to revolve around a group of kids, and they could also go off that. So I don't know. But yeah, Last Jedi. That's really all my thoughts on the movie. Did you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, I got two. Well, I got two things. 3 out of 5 for me.
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. And also, I think that every time I think about the title of this movie, it makes me think about that one person who retitled all the movies.
Wait, what?
You've seen that. Like, he was like, no, Return of the Jedi should have been like The Force Awakens.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember the video, but I do know like the retitling of the films.
Yeah. He like retitles everything, and it just makes so much sense.
Yeah,
so much sense. But from my personal opinion, I think The Last Jedi should have been the title. Like, not knowing what's happened in these movies, but I just think that title should be the last in the trilogy. Not even just because it has last in it, just because I feel like it would have created such a way better cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, The Last Jedi is the last movie, and then what happens after that? You know, it just leaves way more mystery.
Like, Rise of Skywalker probably should have been episode 7.
And then The Phantom Menace should have been episode 9.
Is that what they said? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Return of the Sith should have been... What did he say? Return of the Sith... Or Revenge of the Sith should have been, I think, episode 4. But...
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, 3 out of 5 for me. Very conflicting. A lot of really good scenes. A lot of very feel-good moments. A lot of anxious moments that were done really well, but Rian Johnson just shouldn't have done this movie. Should have just let J.J. Abrams do it. And where are Filoni and Favreau at? But that's beyond the point. We always say that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I'll give final thoughts on this, but cohesive vision is something that, well, you could see it from this movie, like between this movie and The Force Awakens, is cohesive vision and being on the same page just wasn't there between these two directors. That's not to say that I think Rian Johnson's a bad director. I just think that, I think he did like really strong things with this movie. If I were to look at his filmography, I think Last Jedi is probably the worst of all of his movies. But yeah, man, like for me, it's I'm gonna go a little higher than you. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5, just because like there are things that I like really like about it, and then there are other things where I'm just like, what the fuck am I looking at? And yeah, no, it's just kind of a mixed bag, and but I still give it a pass. 3.5 out of 5, 7 out of 10. But yeah, that's all I got on the movie. I'll probably do it for this episode. What do you think?
That's all I got.
Thanks, folks. That's going to do it for episode 94. Who knows what we're going to talk about for episode 95. We're definitely going to talk about Rise of Skywalker in the near future. That could be episode 95. But until then, we will catch you on the next pod. So peace.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.